We are continuing our Truck Talk series, and lawyer John Holland with H&A Law joins me now, and we are going to talk about cargo trucks and what happens when things fly off of them.
Yeah, it's really scary. This one is near and dear to me, not only because I've handled this case so many times the last 12 years, but it also happened to me personally. I had a piece of metal escape from a truck, and it actually came through my sunroof while I was driving on the interstate about 5 years ago.
Oh my goodness. And that is jarring already, you know, and you talk about this daily. This is something in your daily life. You're helping people with crashes, but when it happens to you, it changes the game.
Yeah, you know, fortunately I wasn't injured, but that's not been the case for several clients I've represented. I had a wheel come off that was being transported that actually came through a client's windshield. We've had several different, you know, whether it's rocks, metal coils, there are so many different things that could come off these trucks when it's not properly secured. Going back to 2002, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration made pretty strict rules for how things have to be secured. You know, they really don't want them moving. There are several different rules about, you know, how much equipment has to be used to secure various items, at what speeds or forces it can move at. So it is heavily regulated, but unfortunately we still see it happen far too often.
Now, my question for you is, when something like this happens and the driver may not know something has flown off their vehicle, what happens then?
Yeah, it's tough. You know, so when it happened to me personally, for example, I didn't know who the truck was. You know, and thankfully I wasn't hurt, but the truck didn't stop. You know, so that can be really challenging. And sometimes it's not even, you know, ultimately the responsibility is going to be on the driver and the company. But there are situations that we've been involved in where it truly looked like the person that loaded the truck, you know, maybe the warehouse. I've represented drivers where they've been unloading trucks, and because of the way materials were loaded, the drivers themselves were actually injured. So it's, you know, there's a lot of rules and a lot of uncertainty that goes into it when these incidents happen.
And it's scary, you know, because it takes a meticulous eye to see what needs to be packed on these trucks correctly.
Yeah, it's, you know, and I mean, it can be something, you know, as small as maybe a piece of stone or a small piece of metal, you know, weighing 5 to 10 pounds. But when you have that at interstate speeds, you know, 70, 80 miles an hour, it can be really dangerous, and it happens in the blink of an eye.
Now, what advice would you give our viewers if something like this happens, and how could they get in contact with you or your law firm?
So first and foremost, you know, I've talked about it before on here, but keeping space is always really important. I mean, in my eyes, the best call I get is always the one I don't get, if that makes sense. You know, someone that's not hurt, an incident that doesn't happen. So just giving yourself room, your family room, if this does happen, that's always the best advice I can give. But, you know, if it does unfortunately happen, we're here to help. We've handled this case many times. You know, don't chase the truck. If you can get their information, try to. But if not, you know, maybe through public records, 911 calls, other vehicles that maybe call in, there's ways to figure out, hopefully, who's responsible and whether or not we can help you.
Thank you so much, John. These are great tips to know ahead of time in case something like this does happen.
Yeah, absolutely. We try our best.